Alright, so I'm going to be talking to you about the Monash Student Association. I work at Monash Student Association. I know that some of you are already my volunteers, so you might know a bit more about it than some of the others here today. But essentially what we are is a representative body. So we've been running since 1961. We've been here quite some time, and a lot of our departments and divisions and also services have been running since then as well. So I've got a lot of information. I'll try and be quick, obviously, but obviously informative. So what do we do? Parts that I think first use would see more than anything else is our transitional programs. So a lot of you would already know about Host Scheme, which is our orientation program. It's been running since 1974. We've also got Hosty, which is you guys. It will definitely help not only first years but also other people that might not feel confident with talking to a staff member. And obviously Orientation Festival, which is our biggest event. We've got a lot of clubs, almost all of them attend that event, and we also have Monash services involved. We have sponsors, so you get a lot of free stuff that day, or that week, sorry. That's a really big event of ours, and that tends to be, if you haven't seen anything else with the services or been involved, that's kind of when you get involved, because it's a humongous event. You couldn't miss it at the lemon-scented lawns. With social events and activities, most of them come through MSA. So clubs and societies are funded through MSA if they're not sport clubs. And also things like MSA activities and Host Scheme and volunteering, we run events ourselves. So we've got Host Scheme night, which is 1,700 people, which is the first day of Orientation Festival, and it sells out. The Brazilian Carnival is the second semester equivalent. Some of you may have attended. We're hoping to get around 500 this year. We had 300 last year who attended, and that was in the dining hall. We also have the after exams party. This is, I think, around 1,900 people that attend, and it sells out every semester. And we also have the survival ball. We also have the queer ball. And I think we also have something on the same lines for the women's department. And generally speaking, we tend to be the ones that give you the free breakfast every Wednesday and the free barbecue every Tuesday during the semester. So most of the free food that you see around, that's usually on the Menzies lawn or Lemon Centre, it's usually us if it's not associated with the club. We also have divisions. So these divisions have their own constitutions. They almost run on their own, but they are funded by MSA. So the clubs and societies that you'd see, there's over 200 of those. We also have the mature age part-time and long distance or distance students, and they've got their own lounge as well. And we also have NEWAs, which is the Monash University International Student Service. And they have a lounge as well. They've got a committee that gets elected, just like the office bearers at MSA. And yeah, they have their own treasurer, they have their own bank accounts. It's a pretty big deal, and they have their own events, and they sell out quite well as well. Campus life. So this is something that we try and push a lot because it's one of our older programs, Student Theatre and Lot's Wife. So Lot's Wife is our newspaper or magazine, depending on which office bearers are the editors each year. They turn it into a magazine or they turn it into a newspaper. But it's a great way to be published. So if it's something that you're interested in, getting published or having your graphics or photography published, then get involved, because it's only students that participate in that, and it's a break even. So they try and have ads just so that they can pay for those printed copies, and then they do it all over again every month. Student theatre, it's where careers is. We were trying to discuss yesterday where careers is stuck in their office. You have to walk past student theatre to get there. And they do around 10 shows every year. And it's all run by students other than 2 staff members, who's the artistic director and a technical manager. So the technical manager makes sure that all the stage and setup is all, of code. And the artistic director is really who's mentoring the director, the writers, the producers, the stage managers. But everything else is run by students. The best way to see what they do is the O Show, which happens during Orientation Festival. They run about 3 shows a day. And again, all students, and they tend to make sure that if you haven't got any experience, you might work your way up, but you'll definitely get a chance no matter what. And they also did one festival last year called the Container Festival, where you saw these massive containers around campus. and there were little shows in those containers all week for 2 weeks. 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Obviously volunteering, so that's my baby, that's my department. So there's quite a bit involved. You can get into a lot of stuff at MSA. Last year we had 750 volunteers, majority of them active, and before that we had 950 volunteers. It changes every year depending on what we've got going on. We've got the bike room, which is a bike repair shop. It's run by one employee, which is a bike repair supervisor, and everyone else is a volunteer. So we have a roster for that. We have the breakfast team, which is actually new this year, and some of you are involved with that. What you do is pretty much as it sounds, you supply breakfast to students on Wednesdays. It'll be a hot breakfast this year each time, so bacon and eggs, and obviously porridge for vegans, without milk. And there might be fruit and day dishes and cereal and stuff as well. So it's just a really good way to get people eating before they start their morning. We also have campus tours, which hopefully you'll be involved with. We also have host game volunteers involved with that every year. Events and activities, musical Menzies, orientation festival, One World Week, media festival, all of those kind of events. Sure, they're run by staff, but they don't really run without you guys. So we have a bunch of volunteers that are involved with that every year. Free Food Mondays is part of the welfare department. So it's where we feed around 100 to 140 people every week. It's usually vegetarian because it's cheaper that way, and we can use more money to feed more people. So it's usually something like Mexican lasagna and curries, and there's always dal for those vegans. We have Host Year, which you guys are quite familiar with, so I don't really see the point of going through that too much. Host Scheme is an orientation program. We run 4 camps in first semester, 1 camp in mid-year. We run 2 night events, and we run 20 weekend functions. So those 20 weekend functions can be bowling, it can be a barbecue, picnic, beach day. All that matters is that you're meeting people within your suburb, so you can meet people that are close to you, and you can carpool with them or public transport with them to Monash. Because public transport and carpooling is going to be much cheaper than you finding a permit here. So that's the main purpose of those events. Internships and work experience. We've been running them for 2 years now. We have internships and work experience in our finance department and accounting, marketing department. So depending on what you want to do, it could be events, it could be sponsorship, it could be the MSA card or anything of that sort. We also have it in student theatre, so you can either be the intern for the artistic director or the technical manager, depending on what you're interested in. And we also have them in office administration. Now, 3 of those out of the 4 can actually be part of your unit, your internship unit at uni. So what we usually ask you guys to do is, depending on your faculty, some of you will be offered a unit for internships. Find out if it's okay for you to use us. I know that Ms. Echo and the marketing faculty, or department, sorry, and student theatre, so performance arts, they all approve our internships. So that might be something that you're asked, but at least you know that for friends and family that come to Monash. John Medley Library is our recreational library, so you only see things like comics, DVDs, music, novels, that sort of stuff, and we have volunteers in there as well helping out. If you've ever experienced work in a library, you get paid really well. So what we try and do is try and get you guys to get a bit of experience so that you can go out there and go, I've actually worked in a library before as a volunteer, and try and get work actually at a library, preferably Monash. Yeah. I've already mentioned the student theatre. Survival Centre is almost like an op shop, but free. So people donate clothes there, and then the volunteers are the ones that manage that space. And pretty much you see people in there for costumes, which isn't actually the purpose of the space, but for costumes, and also if you just, for example, if you thought it was going to be a really hot day and then it rained, you got a jacket from there. There might be umbrellas in there. I know there's crockery and I know there's cutlery, but we try and help you as much as possible, so that's the purpose of that space. And Volleys Abroad, so we did one last year. We went to Cambodia, and this year we're going to Thailand. The whole point of it and the purpose of the program is for you to volunteer overseas, and for you to manage that overseas experience. So we're trying to give you leadership experience and obviously that overseas experience of volunteering, which you wouldn't get at Monash here. So that's what we're trying to do with volunteering, and we're expanding every year. It's only just me, so I can just do as much as I can handle. But yeah, we've been doing a lot. Campus services. So I've mentioned the Biker and John Medley Library. We have the MSA card. How many of you have purchased an MSA card before? Yeah, I thought so. Cool. It's 20 bucks. It used to be 60. And the whole point of it is to give you discounts and get you motivated to interact with your campus and outside of campus. So you get discounts on campus for events for MSA and also clubs and societies for joining up. You get $5 off for each club membership, which means that the smaller clubs could potentially be free for you. So that's what we tend to tell the first years as well when they come by. Because orientation festival, it's going to be a massive queue for you to buy an MSA card, so you might as well get it sooner rather than later, so you can just go to all the clubs and sign up. We also have discounts off campus, so there's 20% off McDonald's around the area, 20% off Subway around the area. I think there's 10% off KFC, but yeah, it sounds kind of junk food at the moment. But, but you also have places like, I think that there's newspaper, and you also get 10% off Artichoke. You get 20% off the bar here on campus. There's a lot of stuff. You can get a lot of things. And then we have Whole Foods. Oh no, sorry, Sir John's Bar. I should mention that. So that's the only bar on campus. It's student-friendly prices. We try and keep our prices low. We actually don't make that much money off the bar because we try and keep things just so that we can accommodate the cost of our staffing. So there's obviously alcohol there because it's a bar, but we also have lunches and we do wajachos, which is wedges done in like a nachos way. So little things like that are really quirky that Sir John's is known for, and it's a good place for you to catch up with people. We also have Whole Foods. So Whole Foods is our vegan and vegetarian restaurant, and it's run solely with volunteers and I think 3 staff members or 2 staff members, and it's run by a collective. So that was running since the 60s, I'm pretty sure, if not early 70s. And it's a great place to get any organic food because they only cook with organic vegetables and rice. And they tend to only sell organic stuff. Student rights is kind of like the sad part of MSA. So if you fail subjects or you have any issues at all, that's where you go. So we help you with special consideration, any grievances, and discipline academic progress. So they actually do have volunteers in there as well. I haven't really had to do much with them there because they tend to attract their own students. But we have helped them with data entry. Otherwise, it's a really good summer job as well. So if you ever see them advertised and you can handle anything like that because it can be a bit dark at times. Definitely try and get a job there because it's quite good money for what it is. So the office bearer departments, so as you probably be aware, every year during around October or September, you're going to be asked to vote. You see students around from different political parties trying to get you to vote for the MSA. When they do that, what they're trying to get you to do is vote for these departments here, and obviously the president and the secretary and the treasurer. And it depends on the political party, but in the last couple of years, maybe 7 years, it's been Go who's gotten the gig. And these are the departments that they run. So this is completely run by students that are elected in by people like yourself that vote. So activities, education, environmental and social justice, Indig, queer, women's and welfare. And they also have their own little communities as well and spaces. So we have the activist space, so if you're doing any campaigning or anything of that sort, you can use that space. It's completely your choice to use it. The Viewers Lounge is for international students. We'll have MAP, so that's the postgrad, part-time and the long distance. The Queer Lounge, so that's supposed to be a safe space for people who associate with the queer community. And the Women's Room, which is quite obviously for women. So if you do associate with any of those, you're more than welcome to use those lounges. Alright, well that was enough for MSA, but I just wanted to ask, are there any questions at all about the MSA? We will do a little bit of a tour of the MSA during our campus tour. Most of you, if you found this, found Host You probably went through the MSA website anyway. to try and get acquainted with the organisation, because you might actually find other places you can be involved with.